This is Lilancholy in 5 minutes. Um, Lilancholy. Lilancholy is by John Battle. I should start with that. I don't normally script out these things. I just kind of excitedly talk about games for 5 minutes and then I tell the world what I think about them. I didn't script this one either, and part of me is happy about that, and part of me is a little worried. Not worried, but Lilancholy is so different than everything else that I have done on the channel so far. It's different than anything else that I've really read from an RPG perspective. Um, John calls Lilancholy a lot of different things. So one of my favorite things that John calls it is evil WarioWare, which I think is actually kind of an apt description of what's going on here. But it's a novel. It is a set of guidelines that you can use to guide play in other games, but it in itself is a game itself, what John would probably call like a lyric game. If you're not familiar with lyric games, they are sort of a style of game where the play comes through the almost through the reading of the game rather than like you bring out your pieces and you start rolling dice. The play comes from experiencing or consuming the game. Lilancholy was sort of my first dive into something like that that really grabbed me in an amazing way. The game is about fairies. It's about fairies who challenge humanity for pieces of our humanity because they covet it. And how do they get pieces of our humanity? Through games. They challenge us to games. Now, there are tons and tons and tons of games in here. You might see familiar games like tic-tac-toe or rock, paper, scissors. But there's all sorts of other things, really simple things like the marble jar. You know, you've probably seen one of these before. It's a jar full of marbles, and you have to guess how many marbles are inside. Whoever's the closest wins. There's kind of play to that, right? Oh, these are fun childhood games, games that we have all grown up playing. We have some sort of experience or exposure to these ideas. But these games are dangerous in this game. They're dangerous because of the story that bleeds its way through Lilancholy. Because, like I said, it's a novel at the same time as being a game. John is describing this sort of scenario in which these individuals are communicating with each other. The sort of the narrator and a girl that the narrator's talking to throughout the whole thing, a friend, a childhood friend, who kind of first teaches us about the concepts of the fairies and how they have a lot of rules. Like, you can lie to them, but they get really angry if you lie to them. It reminds me a lot of another fairy game that John wrote, Iron and Lies, which is another fantastic game. Um, and in this story, we're kind of drip fed throughout the book, which is the really cool thing. Like, you hit the spell section and you start learning about how to cast spells, and it's real life things like going up onto a high hill and shouting out and summoning thunder, essentially. Across all of this, we get bits and pieces of this story. And the story is extremely personal, right? It's an extremely personal story coming from John about a lot of different things that I couldn't possibly give the appropriate coverage to in 5 minutes, let alone 50 minutes. The book and the story, the novel element on its own, is worth the price tag. It is just, John's fiction or nonfiction in this case, the bleeding between these two worlds is amazing. It's incredible. Of course, it also brings that fairy side of things, which I think a lot of people are really interested in, but it kind of really makes it terrifying, right? Like, fairy tales have ostensibly have always been a little scary when you look back, but like, they're really fucking creepy in John's book in terms of what's going on in here. The seven jointed fingers coming out of the closet is going to be something that haunts me for a very long time. Lilancholy is a book unlike any that I've read so far when I've been doing these RPGs, and I know I haven't really done the best, I think, in this 5 minutes to convey what it is, because I think it's impossible to convey what it is until you consume it yourself, until you read it. The book is beautiful. It's well done in terms of its print quality. Each page just being like a new spell or a new word fascinates you. You want to flip the page. You want to see more. You want to know what's going on. You want to see the next thing in the story. You want to learn the next spell. You want to play the next game. I think John has done something truly magical here, almost fairy-like, in the creation of this game, and you should absolutely check this out. It's Lilancholy by John Battle. I'll see you next time. Bye.